Hello. Welcome, everybody. Really so pleased you can join us for the next instalment of our Lumio Palooza. Hopefully you've caught one already. And if you haven't, welcome to Lumio Palooza. And welcome, Christine, as well.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, everybody. I am so pleased to see people joining. There's always that fear of being sat here on your own, but I can see lots of people saying hello in the chat and joining the class. So yeah, welcome. I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you kind of with us as well for the Lumio Palooza, both Christine and everyone from us joining as well. I can see that already. I was going to see if I can remember everywhere everyone's joining from, but all over the world, I think I'm going to have to go from that as well. So it's great to kind of see you be involved in the chat, ask any questions. Christine is an absolute fountain of knowledge when it comes to all things, including Lumio. So I'm really looking forward to this session and kind of sharing our expertise as well. But pop your question in the chat, join along. I'll remind you of that code as well for actually having the sessions as well. But I think, Christine, do you want to start with introducing yourself? And then very much looking forward to everything you've got to share.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just going to move on, just purely because then I've got that, and if I can remember who I am. So yeah, I'm Christine Mayers. My role now, I'm Head of Education and Training, so I support schools to make the most of the technology that they've got. I did have a very long career in teaching in the UK. If you're not in the UK, you've probably guessed from my accent. So I spent over 22 years in the classroom, from teacher all the way up to head teacher at one point. And it was primary, so I know globally sometimes that's elementary, so kind of from 3 years old up to about 11. My passion was always slightly lower down in school, so the littlies. But yeah, so now I like to try and support schools getting the most out of technology, and that's why for me Lumio is just the game changer. It's something that I had in the classroom but never really truly knew what it could do till I came out, so I like to try and unlock those bits for everyone. And the session, designing inclusive lessons with Immersive Reader, because for me Immersive Reader is just such an amazing tool, and the fact that it's in Lumio is amazing. So the agenda for today's session, we're going to just have a quick talk about why inclusive design matters. Then we're going to have a look at Immersive Reader in Lumio, and then I'll do a quick demo at how it's so easy to bring in text and pop it into your lessons and make the most of it in Immersive Reader. As Mark said, feel free, if you see me looking off camera, it's purely because I've got a second screen. Feel free to pop any questions in the chat. As Mark said, we've got Canada, we've got Dubai, we've got Ontario, we've got Maryland, Oklahoma, Texas, loads of people. So that's brilliant. Oh my goodness, even more. Fellow ambassadors, yeah, I'm also a Lumio ambassador because I love it that much, and we'll get onto that at the end. So good morning to you. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon where I am, so I'm starting to flag a little bit. So let's move on. Before we get started though, like any good teacher, I need to do a bit of a sense check. So hopefully you have joined. If you haven't, my class ID is 72679. Mark has popped it up in the chat as well, so you can find the link there. So feel free to get connected. And I'm going to start it for you. You'll know about this within Lumio. And my question is just simple. How familiar are you with Immersive Reader? So your screen should look different because you're in student mode. So feel free to answer A, haven't used it before. B, I know about it, but not used it much. C, use it occasionally. Or D, use it regularly. And while you are answering that, my answer personally now as an adult would be actually I use it regularly, because Immersive Reader for me means I stay far more focused on text. I'm reading in different products on the web. So for me as an adult now, I'm definitely a D. So I can see we've got 75% of you have answered, which is fabulous. And we've got more people joining, so that number's going down. It's not that people have removed their answer. If you are just joining, class code is in the chat. My class ID is 72679. So feel free to, I'm just getting started with a question on how familiar are you with Immersive Reader? And I can obviously go and have a look at those results. So we've got a bit of a mix, which is, it's kind of what I guess as teachers, we know what the answers we're going to get, really, don't we? So quite a number of you have never used it before. So, welcome. Hopefully I'm going to give you something to take away that you didn't know. Used it a bit, but not much. So hopefully you're going to have a look at some of the features. And some of you are slightly more experienced users, use it occasionally and regularly. Again, hopefully there'll be something in this for you. I say hopefully, there will be. There absolutely will be. So I am going to move on. And of course, you'll get a copy of these slides afterwards. So you've got all of access to all of this. So first of all, inclusive design, or inclusive by design. It's something that matters a lot, and I think is becoming far more important, or it's not more important, we're becoming far more aware of it, that actually how we design our lessons is really important. It's not just about them looking pretty, it's about how accessible they are. And I've just popped this line at the bottom here, essential for some and useful for all. And I've just looked over the chat and see that Mark's saying he uses it himself. This for me is why Immersive Reader is so good in Lumio, because it is there for everyone. Not everybody will need it or will use it, but actually for those that do, it's there and it's built into your lessons. And that for me is why inclusive design matters, because it's not about creating separate resources. I mean, I don't know about you, who's got the time? Or adding in that extra support later or additional tasks. So here in the UK, we talk about interventions, catch-ups. So though, you know, filling the gaps perhaps where children are maybe coming in from a lower starting point, they haven't got perhaps some of the knowledge. It's not about having to give them extra, although, you know, of course we give children everything and our students everything we can. It's about that design from the very first moment, so that ultimately we build lessons that work for everyone, or as close to, straight away from the start. So moving on. Just take a pause. So I'm making you do the thinking, I'm not doing it all. Have a think, what barriers could your students or other students face when working with text? Because that's what Immersive Reader really helps to unlock. If students are faced with text that is perhaps not in their home language, is not perhaps at their reading level, you know, it's perhaps too challenging or simplified. Yeah, what could we have there? So yeah, dyslexic tendencies, absolutely. I don't know about where you are, but it's certainly something that is being kind of identified far more regularly and consistently, that we're finding that these students who perhaps once were missed are being picked up. Yeah, we've got more dyslexia there, absolutely, white backgrounds, contrast, visual crowding. Yeah, it's huge. The speed at which they read due to their decoding level, their vocabulary, absolutely. So one thing I will say is that when I'm talking about the use of Immersive Reader in Lumio, it's not necessarily about the teaching of reading. Of course, children absolutely need to learn to read those skills of decoding, blending, segmenting, those sight words, that reading with fluency and automaticity. It's so important. Immersive Reader isn't necessarily a tool for that, but if perhaps a child is reading more slowly than their peers, or not necessarily as the complexities of text, but the focus of our lesson isn't reading, it's other skills, then why should they be at a disadvantage just because of their needs? And, you know, we have got loads on here: reading levels, language barriers, text created as flattened images. Yeah, we're going to definitely touch on that. English language, absolutely. The last school I taught in was in a city called Bradford. It's hugely multicultural. You know, we had in my last class 26 different languages other than English. So yeah, absolutely. there and there. Absolutely, the English language is a pain. Wonderful. Thank you for all your responses there. So with that in mind, obviously we're a bit topical at the moment. It's the World Cup. What we can often do as teachers, and I did this, is in the middle here, I've just got an example of kind of like a mid typical child, say, in a class. And then I would think about perhaps simplifying it. So actually, I've simplified this text now, and it's got some of the same information, but it's missing key parts. You can see straight away, it's not as long. In this country here, we're talking about matches to win trophies. We've got more information about the initial hosts. We've got information about travel that's in the core text, but it's not in the simplified version. So straight away, perhaps our children with a lower reading ability, they're at a disadvantage. They're not being given the same information as their peers. Similarly, if we look at the kind of up-leveled piece, if you like, you can see I've had to make the text smaller to fit it in the box. There's far more information in there. It's not just a brief history of the World Cup. It's the evolution and global impact of FIFA World Cup. So I'm giving those children more information, more knowledge, access to kind of a broader breadth of knowledge. That's the same word. That's something that I used to do, and hopefully you did too. I say hopefully too, I'm going to assume rather you did too. So I realise I'm going quite on. Yes, excellent point, Mark. He's just said there that I have Immersive Reader turned on. It's really important. If it's not showing for you as a teacher, it should be showing for you as a student shortly, that it does need toggling on up in your settings. It's up in the top corner. Mark will tell me where it is. It's up in the top corner. I want to say it's in Manage Class. It is indeed. It's in Manage Class. You can turn it on there. He's appeared.
Yeah, not to spoil your flow. Christine's turned this on for live sessions. I think if it was on for all live sessions, I know certain individuals that are in my class that might just use this in the wrong way. But actually having that toggle, just when you go into your Lumio sessions, we'll have a look at it when we edit lessons in a moment. Just go to Manage Class, turn on Immersive Reader. It's really nice and simple, but I'll leave you to it.
No, absolutely. And if it's missing, that's why. And that's one of the things I turn it on. I leave it on all the time. So let's take a look at Immersive Reader in action. So you'll see at the moment, and this is going back to a comment that was on the whiteboard, where it talked about flattened images as flattened text as images. So if you look down my sidebar here, looking obviously on the screen, not necessarily as a joining student, you can see there is a little Immersive Reader icon. This is the Immersive Reader icon. It's currently I'm about to say grayed out, like blued out, because this is an imported image. You can join my session tomorrow afternoon to find out how I do that. This is an imported design that I've made elsewhere and I brought in. So there isn't actually any text on this page that Immersive Reader can pick up. If I shift on, not this one, but the next one, same with this one. On the next page, you'll see, keep your eye on the icon on your sidebar as well as a student. It will come on in a moment. It is built in, and as Mark rightly said, I've toggled it on. I've turned it on for my live lessons because I love having it there. You will know with your classes who is suddenly going to start going into it when you don't want them to. So that classroom management tool, the ability to turn it on, to turn it off. It supports inclusion because it reads aloud the text and helps your learners to access that content independently. So say 90% of the class can read it, but you've got the 5% who can't. They don't have to be at a disadvantage. Lumio and Immersive Reader together can help you with that. I'm just going to go below works with text because I'm going to come to that one last. It enhances your accessibility. So you can do all sorts of things, not just read aloud. You can change the text size. There's a couple of text font options. You can change the color contrast. We'll take a look at those in just a second. This one, though, is really important. It does work with text, but it has to be that physical text. At the moment, it has to be from a text box, typed in, copied and pasted across, get things like AI to do some work for you and help you, or take passages that you've got elsewhere and bring them in. And it works on lesson pages like we've got here, or certainly the next one, whole class whiteboards, group workspaces, and individual handouts. So you can use it on your main lesson pages and also those 3 different page types so that you can share it with your learners. So I'm going to move on now, and hopefully at your sidebar, the Immersive Reader icon, so it's that book, open book with a little speaker, should now be available for you to touch. Feel free to, or you can just watch what I'm doing here. So here we go. It's highlighted now. It wasn't before. And what it does is it highlights what text can be read. So I've inputted 2 text boxes here. I've got my title, and then I've got my main body of text. If I click on my title, just give it a second, you can see it loads and it takes me forward to the page. I'm just going to go back because I'm going to go to my main text. But you see how simple that was? Click on the icon and then you click back. Brilliant. Thank you for letting me know you can see it. Oh, I've clicked on the wrong one. Let's try that again, Christine. That's this one. Oh, there we go. So there straight away, my text has come through. So if you're watching me, you'll see this on my screen. You'll see the changes I make. If you're now looking at it as a student, which is exactly what I do, you're probably clicking buttons and discovering things that happen. So straight away, here's my text. And this down here is your read aloud. I love that as well, Sarah. The fact that it doesn't take you to a new web page. It is just there. It is hidden within your lesson. Yes, okay, you need to click your back button up here, but you're not going to a separate page. It's just within your lesson. You're not directing them somewhere else. So this bit here is your read aloud. So you can click play. It picks up from the language that your browser is set to. So mine is set to English British, and I've selected a female voice. So that's the option I've got. You can here change it to male. It will still be, for me, English British, but in a male. So let's change it to male. You've got options to toggle up your voice speed. I am certain it comes as no surprise that I am an absolute fan of a 1.5. Podcasts, that's how I listen to things now. So if I now click, oh, nope, don't want that bit. We'll come to that bit now. If I click play, and you should be able to get my audio, I think it's coming through. Now, obviously, that's quite fast, and I've changed it from the male, but I could go, oh, okay, I want it back to the female. I want to slow it right down. I'm not going to play it all, but as you can see, it tracks the words for you. You've got that kind of visual distractions are gone. I've got the auditory reading aloud, and I've got the visual. So that dual coding is perfect. So for me, I get distracted really easily. I'll stop listening or I'll stop reading. My mind goes somewhere else. Having it read aloud and tracking the words helps me to stay really focused. You can't hear it. So you can hear it on your screen. Awesome. Why can't you hear it here? I haven't shared sound, have I? Let me check. I'm not going to mess with my settings at the moment. So I apologize that you can't hear it, but it was reading in a British English voice, I promise you. And I don't want to mess with the settings and send everything into Meltdown, but it's great that you can hear it on your screen. So you've got the control as well. So if you have joined the lesson using our lesson code and you have got this on your screen, you will be able to hear it in whatever language you've got your browser set to. Then up here, this is where the magic really happens. So we've got 3 different menus. You have these as a teacher, you have them for your students as well. So your text preferences is your text size. So that's quite big text for me. I probably, despite my aging eyesight, could make it a little bit smaller. I could make it really small. I could make it much bigger. Great for those children and students with visual difficulties who perhaps having enlarged text is what they need. So instead of having to run to the photocopier and having to enlarge things onto A3 and then perhaps being sat there with something really big and standing out in front of their classmates, let Immersive Reader do it. You can increase the space. So as you can see there, just makes it a bit bigger. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So you've got those options. There's a couple of font types. You know, Comic Sans gets a bit of a bad rep, but but ultimately those letters are what, certainly in the UK, are more like the kind of handwriting style we have. It's not the A with the top or the loopy G. That's why that stands there. And yeah, absolutely, Mark's point out, I'm doing this here. If you're on as a student and you've clicked that Immersive Reader button, you can control all this. You can choose your font size. You can choose what color, what font. Let's have a look at our backgrounds. I tend to go for kind of a pale cream color. We know, particularly with things like dyslexia, certain children, certain students and adults prefer certain color or contrast background. You've got, you know, dark theme, you've got pinks, you've got greens. And I've done this before with the reading rulers and little overlays, and how children suddenly go, oh, the letters aren't moving anymore. So, you know, just that straight away, it's there, it's over your text, and it can be different. You can have 10 children on the table and they can all have a different color. They could all have different font size. That is what inclusive design is about. Yeah, I like that question. I'd love to know if any of you use any colors and what you prefer. The next one is your grammar options. So you can break it down into syllables. So thinking again about that kind of reading, it's not a tool for the teaching of reading, but in terms of segmenting words, you know, having a look at the word entertainment, where do you start there? Syllables, entertainment. So actually it's showing them how it's spoken. You can highlight nouns, so it could be useful as a teaching tool, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, for any children perhaps, or again, I keep saying any people, anybody who perhaps is colorblind. You can also turn those labels on, so actually it tells you what are nouns. That's great. I love that we're sharing tips as well. Increase the font when you print. That font size will be printed. Awesome. And that's it, exactly. How can we, let's make our lessons, our content, inclusive from the very start. See, that's a bit, I've never used this tool personally, but it is there. It's just good to know it's there. And you can change the color. You might want nouns in blue. Fine, let's have nouns in blue. It's a tool there for you to use. There you go. It increases focus. Absolutely. For some it will, for others it will be another color. And then the last one, the last option at the top, is your reading preferences. So here you can put your line focus on. So visually, all of that text now is gone. I have just got a 1-line focus, or I can have a 3-line focus, or I can have a 5-line focus. So you've got those options. Personally for me, 1 line. I don't need to, I'm that person. I track back, I track forward. I just don't focus. I used to. But then that comes up there. You can go up and you can go down. Just know if you have line focus on and you think your menus have disappeared, they haven't. They're just hidden. They're still up there at the top. They kind of just get grayed out. Excellent, Sarah. That is great to know. We have similar in the UK. Our special educational needs is undergoing a bit of a review at the moment. But yeah, individual education plans are still very much a thing, sometimes have different names. And yeah, things like this, you're not having to buy anything else. You're not looking for resources. If there's a device with that student, these tools are with them, and it remembers your preferences. So if you've been on and you come back to it, it will remember your preferences, or certainly it has done for me in the past. So that's your line focus. Picture dictionary. So again, if you have got students in your class who perhaps need support with their understanding of what things mean. So let's say I'm not able, let's go evolution. We don't know what evolution means. That's fine. I've got my picture dictionary turned on. And when I click on that, it gives me an image to kind of pictorially describe what evolution means. If I go to international, there isn't one. If I go to world, I get a picture of the world. If I go down to Olympic, so some words have them, some don't. Travel, there we go. So we've got different modes of travel. But you can see how some words do, some words don't. Participate, so we've got 3 different options there. So it helps to explain what the words mean. And then, going back to those reading preferences, translate. Now, as a person who predominantly only ever speaks English, I do know little bits of other languages, but no. This for me was groundbreaking, where I had many children in my class with English as an additional language, because I can choose my languages. Mark, I believe, has got the resource which tells you exactly which languages are available. There are loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads. It will translate into all of those. It will not read aloud all of those. Mark has got the list. I think it's about 40 of them. But let's have it. Do you know what? I originally come from Wales in the UK. So this is in English. I maybe want this for a Welsh learner. And in Wales, you have dual language schools that, you know, it is predominantly taught in Welsh, but they also need to learn English. So I can select that. Now, I've got the option of by word. So let's go back to world. And then it will give me the word for world in Welsh. You can see, though, I haven't got the speaker. That's why I chose it. It hasn't got the speaker. It won't read in Welsh for me. If I go here, I've got that word there. I can change it all by document. And you can see here now, it has translated the entire document into Welsh. I can go back to my original at the top, and I can go back to Welsh. And I do think if I click play, you can't hear it, unfortunately, because obviously my sound's not sharing. It is reading it all in Welsh. It won't do word by word translation, but it has translated all of it. If I choose, let's see, French. Oh, she says. We're going to go French, France, purely because they're neighbours. They're just across the water from us. If I click on document, oh, hang on, go back, word. So you can see here now it is highlighted. So it reads du monde. It's got a lovely French accent, far better than mine. And then when I do the whole document, and it reads it for me, I'm aware, obviously, you can't hear it. But then this is where having the speed helps, because I don't know about you, but if I'm listening to somebody speak a language I don't understand, I need it to slow down quite a bit. So that tool is there for you. And it just, for me, is phenomenal. The fact that, as was pointed out before, it's in Immersive Reader, in Lumio rather. You've got all of those tools. You can have multiple students using it in multiple different ways. And then when you're ready, they just need to click back. Now, I'm mindful of time. I've gone on, as I always do. We're going to have a quick look at how easy it is to do this, because somebody pointed out, and I apologize, I can't remember your name, that it won't read flattened text. So this is how you get it to work. So this is just a handout I've got, and I'm just going to leave. So if you're joining as a student, you're just going to, I'm pausing it for a second because I'm going to edit my session. Oh, you can hear it. Brilliant. Yes. So I'm editing this session here now. Obviously, I'm in class sessions, so it's only going to change it here. What I'm going to do is I am just going to put some text in here. So it has to be text from a text box. Now I'm cheating. Above me here, I have got my text already. And I asked the very kind Gemini earlier for a World Cup summary so far. So let me just paste that in. And I'm just going to make it slightly bigger. Oh, not that big, she says. I'm going to change the font because, of course, we can do this in Lumio. And I want to make that title. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that title. I'm going to put the title up here. There we go. So there you can see that's my text. So it's not imported. It's not in a flattened image. I have had to put that text into my Lumio lesson. So in it goes. And then this is where I want them to answer the questions. I've got 3 questions and I'm just going to pop them over here. Now you could say, Christine, why are you doing this? Why are you doing a body of text over here? And then why are you doing your questions over there? And this is purely because, as I say, this isn't about the teaching of reading as such. This is about supporting those other skills. So maybe your students are working on retrieval or comprehension. Just going to make that a little bit small to fit in that box. I wouldn't usually do that. I'd usually press return. But this could be an activity where I want them to read the passage, but my focus isn't on their ability to physically read it. It's on the ability to understand it and to find the answers and the questions as retrieval and knowledge skills. So you saw how quickly I've done it there. I'm now going to click finished editing. Right, okay, thank you for that. Do not worry, I haven't shared my sound. I'll learn for tomorrow. So it's here now. And of course, this is just my page. So you can click Immersive Reader and it will be available for you. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to convert it into an individual handout for you. Don't worry. I am not expecting you to actually complete this. But what I've done there is I've converted that into an individual handout so that you can see, if I just quickly go back to my teacher handout, that Immersive Reader is still there as an option, and that I could ask my students to listen to this passage, translate it into the language at which they actually is their home language, their mother tongue, change the contrast, enlarge it, smaller, a picture dictionary, find the noun. I could get them to use all of these tools, and then when they're done, right, back you come. You've still got the text here as reference, but then you could answer these questions, and they could do that by typing, using digital ink, using audio, because of course I could have added audio instructions to that. I could record all of this in audio, but I only speak English. So actually, I can't translate it into lots of languages. I'm going to let Immersive Reader do the legwork for me and make that accessible to all. I am just going to have a little look. Mark, England to win. I think we are, you know, I'd like it to happen, but I'm not sure I'll be watching. It's too much. But yeah, so, and I don't know if you know this, but this is fairly new to drop, that when you're in Immersive Reader, that you now get the little thumbnail view, so the live view of what all of your learners are doing. And where there isn't a thumbnail, it means that it just either hasn't pulled through yet because of connection, because of course this is global. But yeah, it's just great because you can, you know, I could see there straight away, Mark, England to win. Yeah, absolutely, I'm with you. So that's just an aside. But yeah, that was quick. Surprise, surprise. If you could put me into Immersive Reader, you might want to slow me down. I've just done a quick shout out there. Oh, you've got the spinning wheel. I'm sorry about that, Heather. Do you know what? Just so that Heather can get on board, I'm just going to very quickly go back, just so that she gets to see it. And hopefully,
I was going to say, sometimes when you're jumping in and out of edit mode a few times, the browser kind of goes to that sleep state. So as a learner, just click refresh, you'll be back in and you'll be good to go. So refresh your browser and you're in.
Yeah. So, and if you haven't got it, you can get these slides afterwards and the recording as well. And then, yeah, I just was finishing with a shout out. Oh, of course, we couldn't complete that action. That'll be me. I need to refresh my browser probably. And it's just, if you have any takeaways from this session, so something, you know, loads of you have already said in the comments that you know, the fact that actually you've got the kind of the verbs and the noun, the word types, the ability to change the background and the fonts. It was just time to have a little reflect. I will stop yabbering on at you and we will wrap up the session. But yeah, that's lovely to see, because I think that's it for me. It's knowing the tools that work for teachers, and for me, sharing that practice. Actually, I really like this. I really like that. Talking about how it can support our students with identified special educational needs. And that's where for me, Immersive Reader in Lumio it's essential for some. No, it's essential for some, but actually it is useful for all, and giving children the power to be able to change what the text on their page looks like in the click of a button is, for me, why Immersive Reader in Lumio is just game changing. And I appreciate all of you adding your thoughts. And actually, I'd love to know how you get on trying it with your students and how they find it. Can other students see the shout out responses? Not yet. You can see them obviously on my screen. So as a teacher, you would maybe have this up at your front of class display, obviously on your smart board, and students would be putting their answers and they throw up to the front of class. But at the moment, that's how students would see the shout out responses, because they're up there at the front of their classroom. But that's maybe a tool for Mark to feed back to Lumio, that there's kind of a summary page for students to see.
Yeah, the way I've done this one is you just take a print screen and then add it to the next page. So it is a bit of a workaround at the moment. There is a direct feedback within Lumio. So if you do want to sign up for Lumio for free, lum.io, and use it, and then the top side, there is feedback. And you can actually suggest new features. You can upvote anybody else as well. And I can hand on heart say those go directly to the developers within Lumio. And that's what makes it better. It's not people from the Lumio team saying, oh, we need this, we need this. It's real teachers like yourselves using it day in, day out and say, I need this, make it happen. And that's the stuff that does it as well.
And I will back that up, Mark, because I spoke to you and you got the guys at Lumio, because the UK coins, there was a slight, we'd updated one of our coins because why not? And as soon as that was fed back, the updated UK coins appeared in the manipulatives in Lumio. So it absolutely does. It matters, feedback. Thank you to everybody saying thank you and informative. Just wrapping up, obviously, Mark, feel free to jump in, but there are loads of resources that you can keep learning with. The links will all be somewhere, anywhere. I'm not entirely sure, because actually, oh no, I'm telling a lie. The links within these resources actually work. Hurrah, I didn't think they did, but they do. So you can click the links and it will take you out. And there is loads. I've done loads of the Lumio courses, because when I was getting started with it, it's so powerful, but they're so helpful. And become an ambassador. Tisha heads up the global community team. She is phenomenal. We have kind of monthly catch-ups. The ability to kind of learn about new features before they drop, share good practice with just an amazing team, and just the energy. For me, the EdTech world, this is what it's about. So I encourage you, if you use Lumio or Smart, but Lumio specifically today, apply to become an ambassador. So I think you can follow that link there or scan that QR code. And absolutely. And then, if you're on social media, I will be at some point this afternoon. Just share, and I would love if you're on Instagram, I'm not on TikTok, I'm too old for that. But if you're on Instagram, I am just at Miss C Mayers. It's my old kind of school account, if you like. I would love for you to tag me. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And make sure you use @Lumio Social and #LumioPalooza 2026. Oh, excellent, Heather, a new ambassador. Yay, I love that. Mark is putting all the details in the chat there. And then the last thing, as a teacher, we would not be complete without feedback. So there is a survey link there to fill in. Appreciate any feedback. I'm not entirely sure what's in that form. If it's about me, feel free to be open and honest and share the love about Lumio Palooza, because I think that is great to know, Catherine. It makes a lot of teachers easier, and you would be surprised the amount that don't know about it. And as soon as I show them some of the tools, they're like, yes, how do I get that? So I think that's done, Mark. I'm a little over time.
No, you're spot on. I think all those great takeaways at the end are really important, just to kind of sum up my session and say that as much as we're running these 2-day events, it's that long-term support as well from Christine, from the whole Lumio team. But before I jump too much into that, I just want to say, Christine, that was fantastic. I think, I mean, like I said at the very beginning, I use Immersive Reader, but I didn't actually know that I can, with the words, I can actually have the names above them as well. And it's just little bits and pieces like that. When we take that, at the moment, we're taking that bit of time to go, what is Immersive Reader? What's the actual nuances and how is it going to be used for all? And actually has that time to think about it in all those crazinesses of life is, but in this situation here as well. Great to see it being used and also kind of how to make it in the background as well. So I really appreciate that. The comments are flooding through with thank you very much as well. You did mention your other session tomorrow. I'm personally very much looking forward to that as well, linking to the side of Canva and using that, importing it as well, and using that side as well. I've put a link to sign up to Christine's session for tomorrow. That is already in the chat as well. And of course, there are going to be so many more across the next couple of days of loads more sessions as well. So feel free to do them more as well. And then finally, on that social side of things as well, please do at Lumio Social and use the hashtag, I can't remember it now, Lumio Palooza 26, because there is a social competition, a social challenge for that as well. So those that are doing will all be entered into a competition to win a $25 US gift card. So the more you tweet, that's going back a minute, the more you tag on socials, then we'll be there to support you that as well. Yeah, I'll never forget that one. That's my age. But again, thank you everybody for joining. You put it in the comments there as well. There you go. Thank you everyone for joining. Really great to see you as well. And Christine, thank you so much as well. From all of us here, it's been fantastic. Really appreciate your time, your energy, and all your commitment to this as well. Thank you everybody, and we'll see you on another session soon. Thanks all. Bye-bye.